Okay, so let's just get right into it. You open up your phone, you're scrolling through social media, and what do you see? It's all luxury vacations, brand new cars, these picture-perfect lives. You scroll for less than a minute, and it is so easy to feel like you are just falling hopelessly behind with your money. Honestly, it's exhausting.
It really is. And that feeling? That's precisely why we have to ground ourselves in what's actually real. Because what you're seeing online, it's just a highlight reel. It's fiction. The truth is, it's a facade that has almost nothing to do with where most normal people actually are with their finances.
Exactly. So that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? If we just strip away all that noise, how do you really know where you stand? How can you tell if you're actually doing okay, especially when it might not feel like it? Well, let's start our investigation with just one single number, 59%. I just want you to let that sink in for a moment.
That's what's really happening behind the Instagram filter. More than half of the entire country would have to pull out a credit card or borrow money to cover a single $1,000 surprise. And that disconnect between the online fantasy and the real-world fragility, that's exactly what we're going to dig into.
So let's build this thing from the ground up. Before we can even talk about getting rich, we have to talk about being secure. So the first set of signs are all about building your financial fortress. These are the absolute non-negotiable defensive moves. The first thing that jumped out at me here is the bar is actually lower than I thought it would be. Just being able to handle a $1,000 surprise without having a complete meltdown, that alone puts you ahead of most people. That's actually a huge relief. It is. And that emergency fund, it's so much more than just money. What you're really buying is time. You're buying options. If you lose your job, you're not forced to take the very first offer that comes along. You're buying less stress in your life, in your relationships. That buffer, it's freedom.
Okay, so this next one involves a term that I feel like I see all the time, especially on, loan applications. Debt-to-income ratio, or DTI. But what does that alphabet soup actually mean for a regular person's financial health? The easiest way to think about it is like a quick stress test for your finances. Basically, lenders want to see that less than 36% of your income is going out the door to pay off debt. If you're under that number, you're in what they call the financially fit club. But then look at the reality check right next to it. The average credit card balance people are carrying is almost $8,000. So if you're paying your cards off every single month and your DTI is low, you're not just fit, you are in total control. Wow. Okay, wait a minute. I always just assumed that living paycheck to paycheck was a low-income issue. But you're telling me almost half of the people making six figures are stuck in that same cycle? That is genuinely shocking. It really shows you that it's not about how much you make. It's all about the gap between what comes in and what goes out. The moment you create even a small buffer, you stop making these frantic reactive decisions, and you can start making proactive strategic ones. And that mental shift right there, that's a huge win.
And that whole proactive mindset is the perfect segue into our next section. We've locked down the defense. So now let's talk about playing offense. These are the forward-looking strategies that show you're not just surviving, you're actively building for the future.
And this brings us right back to that social media problem we started with. That stereotypical guy, the Chad with a six-pack on a boat. You see that, and your brain immediately tells you you're losing. Exactly. And this really shows you the two different games being played. The stuff on the left, that's influencer fiction. It's often rented or fake. The real benchmarks on the right, a healthy emergency fund, a low DTI. That is what actual sustainable winning looks like. The problem is never their highlight reel. It's that we compare our real life to their very carefully edited one. And speaking of real benchmarks, take a look at this number. This comes straight from the Federal Reserve. It's the median net worth for Americans between 35 and 44. And let's be really clear here. This is not yacht money. It is not private jet money. But it is real money that real people have built. So if your net worth is trending in this direction, you are absolutely doing better than most. So you're saying just by being in the game at all, you're already ahead? That more than a third of the whole country is just sitting on the sidelines completely? That's right. It's kind of incredible. While inflation is quietly eating away at their savings year after year, almost 40% of people have zero exposure to the market. So simply by having a 401k or an IRA or any investment account and actually contributing to it, you are building your future while a huge chunk of people are just standing still. Okay, but I get it. For somebody who's just starting out, that word investing sounds really intimidating and complicated. So what are these simple, actionable things that people can actually do? It really doesn't have to be. So it all boils down to these three simple steps. First,
Get your full employer match. I mean, that is literally free money and instant guaranteed return. Second, work on automating your contributions, aiming for 20–25% of your income over time. And third, and this is crucial, keep it simple. You don't have to be a genius stock picker. The people who win this game aren't the smartest. They're just the ones who stay in it the longest.
And this brings us to a sign that, I know, it might sound a little bit soft or cliche, but it is so financially important. The data is clear. High net worth people are relentless learners. And why is that? It's because every single dollar you earn is tied to the value you can create for someone else. So increasing your skills, whether that's getting a certification, reading a book, or learning new software, that's a direct investment in your single greatest asset, your ability to earn more money.
Okay, so we've gone through defense, we've gone through offense. But all of this is really leading to one final, and I think maybe the most important sign that you're winning with money. Exactly. Let's talk about what the ultimate prize in all of this really is.
And this just cuts right to the heart of it all. Forget about the spreadsheets and the numbers for just a second. What is the emotional cost? You know, that moment when you're lying in the dock. Is your mind racing, trying to shuffle bills around in your head? Or can you actually rest?
And that question isn't just philosophical. It has devastatingly real consequences in our lives. I mean, just look at this. Financial stress isn't just about money. It is a leading driver of sleep problems. It contributes to major health issues. It is the top reason for divorce in America. The cost isn't measured in dollars, it's measured in your health and in your relationships.
So this, right here, is the real bottom line. Winning with money isn't about having a certain number in your bank account. It's not about beating somebody else's online highlight reel. It's about security. It's a feeling. It's knowing deep down that you and your family have a buffer against the chaos of the world. And if you have that peace of mind, even just a little bit of it, then no matter what social media is trying to tell you, you are already winning.